All right, I will be reading the stage directions. And so you start here. It's just part of me while I'm just trying to get everything set up here. So here we go. So without further ado, An Irreproachable Life by Mark Carter. Act 1, Scene 1. Setting is a battlefield. Joan of Arc in full battle regalia stands awaiting the enemy. As she readies herself for combat, Gaspard, ARNEAU, and Jean enter, and the enemy closes in on her. In the orchestra pit, there exists a rock band.
What a warrior.
Invincible!
Truth!
Joan runs an enemy through, cuts 2 more down.
Wow, look at her go.
How could anyone have ever doubted our captain?
Truth!
Greatest shame of my life.
Glad she's on our side.
Joan smashes in the face of an enemy, grabs another by the throat, and guts him with her dagger.
Ooh, that adda.
My gosh.
Some men scoffed at first. The male ego is always afraid of being upstaged. No hope for equality between the sexes.
If only the clerics could see her now.
Joan charges an enemy, cleaves his guts with her sword. The enemy falls prone to the ground.
And from Orleans, we must move to her victories in Yergray, Mung, and Bigancy.
Joan lands on the prone enemy and breaks his neck. Other enemies shoot arrows into her neck and thigh.
Despite wounds to the neck and thigh, she carried on like any man soldier I've ever seen.
Enemies charge Joan, but she kicks one in the nads, slashes another's throat, plunges her dagger into the ribs of another. Joan then takes up her sword and drives off anyone else near her.
Lord, did she hate being taken off the battlefield.
I heard she punched the lights out of someone who did.
Yes.
Glad it wasn't me she slugged.
But with her loss of blood, how weak she became.
Joan falters.
Not that she was your garden variety teenager. Her toughness earned her the merit of respect among us.
Truth.
Respect and so much more.
Joan rises.
And now we finish with Bigancy.
Joan slams into 2 of the enemy, runs another through with her sword, and drives the rest off.
And now we march to Rhymes.
Can you believe Joan had the stuff it took to demand that the Dauphin take his rightful place and be crowned King Charles VII?
The Dauphin enters, sits on his throne. Joan produces a crown and goes to him with it.
Take it.
I don't know, Joan.
I do know. Take it.
Not sure I should.
Please take it. Please.
Why are you begging?
I'm not begging. I don't beg. I demand. Now take the crown.
I happen to know that if I do take the crown, it will be under extreme political turmoil.
Well, there's lots of political turmoil happening right now. I'm in the battlefield fighting for it every day, gladly fighting for you. And I'm going to continue fighting for it. For you and for our people against the traitors and the invaders who have infected their loyalty to our home. But for the time being, take the crown.
Oh, Joan, I don't really know.
Look, cut the Julius Caesar malarkey and take the effing crown!
All right.
Joan joyfully crowns the Dauphin, and once she does, great bombastic organ music resounds. Upon seeing the disconsolate Dauphin, she cuts the music.
I think you'd be cartwheeling across the floor. You couldn't have been too thrilled with the Treaty of Troyes disinheriting you. The Treaty of Arras remedied that.
All right, so I'm wearing the crown already.
Charles VII exits. Joan takes center stage and readies herself for battle again.
You're muted, Kev. You're muted, Kev.
Do you want to take that again?
Of course, it didn't really happen that way.
The play's long enough, so let's keep it moving.
It might as well have happened that way.
On we go to the siege of Paris.
Joan squares off. Nothing happens. Crickets chirp.
Oh boy, here we go. The start of the finish.
The beginning of the end.
I almost can't look.
Joan leans on her sword like a cane as the crickets continue chirping.
Would you believe they gave Joan only 1 day to take Paris?
Paris is huge.
1 day? Ye gods.
They're probably just in a hurry to get rid of her.
Seen as an irritant.
How can these armchair generals judge the actions of participating warriors?
Good question.
But now they begin to lose faith in Joan. A flash in the pan.
Joan drops her weapons.
The campaign at La Cherie didn't help matters.
And then,
And then,
And then,
and
And
then,
Campagna.
Campagna!
Soldiers burst in and take Joan off. Gaspard bursts into tears.
I know, Gaspard, I know.
my only demand is that she is in heaven right now.
She's there, Gaspard. I know it.
As do I.
Please let her be in heaven. How could I have been such an arrant idiot?
You couldn't have known it at the time, Gaspard.
There are many who fell as you did.
Until I was taught the error of my ways, taught much better by the source herself. It is a lesson I'll carry with me forever.
But she died with your friendship firmly in her heart. And who knows, Gaspard, maybe that's why her heart wouldn't burn. No one could ask for better. No one could ascend that bar.
Truth.
Well, then let's the story unfold. The story of my friend, Joan.
Scene 2. The Garden of Jacques d'Arc. Joan kneels in prayer as distant church bells ring. The Saints Catherine, Margaret, and Michael surround her, her back turned to them in prayer.
Look at her, pure and unsullied by the ravages of her country's plight. How innocent she is. Is it really necessary to pluck the petals of this rose?
Indeed, saith God.
What a destiny lies before her.
Today's the day we tell her, huh?
Yes, it is. I hope she receives the news well.
She'll be accused of madness.
That's a jealousy of the mundane-minded. They inwardly crave such inspiration, and because they fall short of it, they slaughter the enlightened for disrupting their collective intellectual status quo.
True. There needs to be some balance where the collective intellect is concerned.
It may not even be a matter of intellectual prowess. On and on the church preaches about imaginary concepts, unimaginably gifted individuals with no expectation of ever meeting them on earth. But when someone outside their circle does actually encounter them, the church starts rubbing their sticks together.
Wise beyond your years.
Oh, I've been dead since 304 AD. Knowledge is easily acquired in heaven. I still ask, though, should we visit her at this tender age? Would we be sealing her fate if she were to fall on the battlefield?
Perhaps so, but that would be her destiny. It would be her sworn fate. In the end, would perhaps justify the means if her mission were to be successful.
Justified in whose eyes, Michael?
In the eyes of the Lord God.
And what of the eyes of those who love her?
God loves her.
What of her earthly support?
They'll be even stronger. The what? Armagnacs?
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 There we go. The Armagnacs need a bolster. The Armagnacs need a bolster. They need a hope restored. They need an inspiration. Look at Joan, a seedling now, but her path ahead will blossom her into the powerful rose she is destined to become.
So the die is cast.
And he took a child.
Cast in gold, cast in the rust of a neglected sword, cast in the diamonds of victory, cast in the earth she and hers will be buried in.
That's not morbid at all.
In her own way, the victory she'll be achieved will not be in the battlefield, but in the mark of heightened morale she'll inspire around the broken hearts of her people. She will sever the wings of the warlike hawk that shadows the land with its audacious flight. Yes, ladies, let us attend her.
Joan raises her hand,
Rise.
sensing them. Sorry.
Rise, flower.
Ascend, thou rose.
Rise and greet us.
Joan remains kneeling, wide-eyed.
We understand your apprehension, Joan. Long dead are we, but living in the hearts of those generations we have left behind.
And here we live with you as ever before.
Catherine?
Yes.
And Margaret?
Yes.
And Michael?
Here.
What good fortune hath been upon me bestowed?
Kismet, perhaps?
Is it my time now?
Your time?
'Tis known that the dying can see the dead.
No, death is yet a far reach for Mew.
Ever are you out of its grasp.
You're also so...
Yes, child.
You're all so beautiful.
Our beauty is as yet unseen, but yours!
You are born to outshine every star.
Even the sun will envy your brightness.
You flatter me.
It's not a vain flattery.
It's not an empty message we bring to you.
You'll be earning your heavenly status.
The heavens will celebrate your arrival.
Yeah, you shall earn your placement there.
How?
As Moses did deliver his people, you shall deliver yours.
Meaning?
Take up the sword.
Take up the lance.
Take up the shield.
Wrench your homeland free from the clutches of her oppressors. Make them bleed. Make them weep with broken hearts.
How dare they rip you from your liberty, your God-given promise of freedom?
How dare they consider themselves your betters?
What audacity wield they in these days?
'Tis a blasphemy they speak.
A sacrilege they commit.
How dare these oppressors leash you like dogs?
Every swing of their swords is a strike against God and the sanctity of his kingdom and yours.
Why choose me for this task so Herculean?
We choose thee not, Joan.
'Twas God's choosing.
Were there no worthier champions?
No,
No.
None.
God chooses wisely.
He is the creator of wisdom.
He is the creator of all things.
Including war.
And lo, he has sent thee to divulge you to your purpose.
Just a child in the midst of them.
God chose me?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Then yea, verily his will be done.
You will raise the siege of Orleans, crown the Dauphin in Reims, and drive out the invaders from your land. Lay their claim to your home to waste. Break their spirit.
And refresh yours.
Leap once again in the freedom you shall restore for your country, free of the shadow of your oppressors.
On earth.
As it is in heaven.
Thy will be done.
At a girl,
Crown
raise
that
that
Dauphin.
siege.
Crown that Dauphin.
Drive out those invaders.
Yes.
You have pleased him.
Have I?
Oh, yes.
He rejoices.
Yes. Oh, the happiness you brought me.
And the happiness you've brought us.
Dear girl, beautiful girl.
Chaste and pure, splendid in every aspect.
I will not disappoint.
And now we must leave you.
No.
Yes, dear girl, we must not tarry. We love you and wish you well.
We wish you victory.
And in its achievement, you will open the floodgates to everlasting love.
God will guide your path and ensure your country's freedom. We will personally see to that. Your destiny is carved with the sword, shield, lance, mace, and the voice with which you shall command the army of your liberation.
Well, when shall I report?
God will inform you of all.
His time is the only proper time.
And now we must leave you, Joan d'Arc.
You will do well, dear girl.
You'll triumph.
They vanish. Joan begins to cry. Scene 3. Cassidy, if you can get closer to your microphone somehow, that would be good, by the way. Scene 3. Joan's father Jacques enters, finds her on her knees, weeping.
Joan, dear girl, what brings you to this sorrow?
Not sorrow, more like elation. I've been visited, Father, by saints.
By saints?
Catherine, Margaret, and Michael, they were so beautiful, Dad. You should have seen them.
Joan, the ladies you've mentioned have been dead for centuries, and I do believe Michael is the archangel.
They were right here in the garden. Do you know what they said?
Terror betides me.
They gave me my purpose.
What purpose, Joan?
You look as though you don't believe me, Father. You don't even know what the purpose is, and you still doubt me.
Then tell me.
My purpose is to lift the siege of Orleans, to crown the Dauphin, and to drive out the invaders.
You, Joan?
Yes.
So you're going to war with soldiers that would eat you alive?
The only thing they'll be eating is their words.
They'll make a meal out of you, young lady.
That remains to be seen.
You honestly maintain the belief in your success in this?
The saints believe in me. God believes in me. That's all the motivation I need.
Nay, girl, 1,000 times nay. Know you the company any army keeps? Ne'er-do-wells, Joan. People no better than rats, clinging to the fringes of respectable life. They mistreat their whores, and for sordid monetary compensation, the whores gladly acquiesce to it. Sickness ultimately betides them, Joan, and that's what you'll become, a whore, for the love of God.
I earnestly disagree with you, Father.
And why is that?
The saints,
The saints? Bloody hell, I don't want to hear about the saints.
Well, you asked and I told you.
Curb that flippancy, girl. Wash that idea of joining the Armagnac army from your brain this very instant, or I'll take you to the River Seine and drown you there. And if I don't, your brothers will.
So you plan on saving my life by taking it, I see. Father, if you or anyone else tries to drown me or batter me or perform any other non-supportive physical interaction against me, they will find their legs broken, their faces smashed in, and death within arm's reach. This is a solemn promise. It is not a threat, but a prophecy etched in stone. No one delivers unto me my ultimate destination save God. I pray you divine the honesty in my words, Father. I love you, but what I say will come to pass.
Jacques sees that Joan is very deadly serious about this. Jacques and Joan sit, Jacques holding Joan to him protectively. Thunder and lightning prevail in the heavens.
I remember when you were very little, Joan. When rainstorms like this pelted our rooftops and roared out their holy terror. Lo, how that terror grasped you. You reached out to me and I'd hold you, alleviating those fears. Once those fears dispersed, I'd sing to you odd little songs, tunes designed to make you laugh. With that splendid laughter of yours, the roar of that thunder would diminish, having no choice but to bend its knee to the joyful song of your mirth. And then Morpheus would claim yet another for his parade of sleeping children. Now you've made friends with the darkness. How your visions must have influenced you, but don't they realize that madness can ensue in the minds of the living? Oh, to do God's bidding, one must lose the lucidity of rational thought and dive into a chaotic pool of madness. Does God care so little for peace?
He cares for justice, Dad.
And uses you as his tool.
When God calls...
Everyone hears his calling.
But so few answer. I need to answer.
I would speak to these visitors of yours.
They only appear unto whom they are bade.
I don't imagine they'd be called to me, for my tongue might do them damage with the words harbored in my head. Do they care not that you might be killed, Joan? Do they not care that you might die?
God sacrificed his son to a cross of cedar, and...
Why does that sit well with everybody?
Why should he care that a peasant girl should fall, pierced by enemy lances?
I might have a problem with such ambivalence because I care.
I know you do, Dad.
Not being God, I don't have the fortitude to send my little lamb to the slaughter.
Thunder. Jacques hugs Joan.
Do you remember the story of the horse and the clown?
I think so, but could you tell it to me anyway?
Of course. There once was a horse with no rider. He stumbled in the mud of his pen. A clown with half his clothes torn off had encountered this stallion. He eyed the horse. The horse returned the gaze. The clown advanced. The horse neighed. The clown landed on the horse, which then gamboled in the pen. The clown fell off. When the clown rose, he found himself in a field of clover. He looked at the horizon, azure skies everywhere, and he said, I guess it just wasn't my day to ride.
Even as a small child, I thought that was a weird story, Dad.
Yeah.
Scene 4. Joan stands.
What I do for my country, my king, and what's more for you. I won't stand for seeing my family enslaved by this foreign power, leashed like dogs and beaten for some imagined offense. Should we meet again on that happiest of days, all the greater will my joy be in that glorious realm. Bid me well, for I obey what God commands.
Joan embraces her father.
Go, Joan. It's your day to ride.
Joan plants a kiss on her father's cheek, looks at him one last time, and exits. Jacques breaks down crying. Scene 5, an open field. Baudricourt performs Tai Chi with a sword.
Captain
Michael
Baudricourt,
appears.
May I help you?
please.
Make this quick, if you would. I rarely get to do this anymore since the English-Burgundian coalition have us against the wall. What have you to ask?
No, Captain, what have you to ask?
Pardon?
You are correct. The coalition does have you against the wall. Your salvation came to you the other day, and you eschewed her.
Her, soldier? Mean you that waif of a girl, the one who had the audacity to demand she command an army?
To a point.
Ah, a point. The point is, despite her admirable agenda, factors that lean against her are her sex, her age, and the fact that I know her father to be an honest, reasonable man. In short, soldier, the girl is bereft of lucidity, get me? She has insisted that God brought her to my command and that I should kneel to her as her direct disciple. Never in my life have I imagined such gall. She urged me to include her into my ranks. Monumental absurdity, man.
There are many that swear by the will of God, but once that will finally visits them, they don't accept it as readily as has. It's beyond the recipient that God understands that all his children do not possess the same level of willingness to acquiesce as Joan has. That's one of the reasons why God has chosen her. Her mind receives his word with grace. Yours does not. I would say induct her.
Oh, do you say this unto me?
Emphatically so.
Temerity must exist within the very air we breathe, for now a common soldier takes it into his own head to dictate to me, his superior, what soldiers I should include beneath my banner. Why do the lackeys always seek to be the brains of the outfit? Do dogs bark orders at their masters? Their fiercest growls are but whimpers when the keepers bring out their instruments of correction. You, sir, seek to inspire mutiny in the ranks. I'll skewer your worthless hide.
Baudricourt tries a run-through. Michael easily disarms him. Baudricourt throws a fist. Michael catches him by the wrist and crushes it, bringing Baudricourt to his knees. Michael doffs the soldier's jacket, revealing himself to be the Archangel. Michael then whips out a garrote wire around Baudricourt's throat.
I'll bet you can't wait for this to be over here. I'll also bet you're worried about whether or not you'll survive this night.
Whips the wire off him. Baudricourt falls. Michael produces a sword.
See this sword, Captain Baudricourt. It's the very same blade I used to oust Satan from the kingdom of heaven by God's command. Yes, it's that ancient. From a war you can only imagine and be told about. Take it from a source straight from heaven. That girl is destined for greatness that will absolutely overshadow yours. Joan will be back to pledge her allegiance to your company, your cause, and the land I know you love. Joan is the key to your victory at Orleans and any subsequent victory. France will have, oh, that's one sentence. Then a charm like Joan comes your way. Wear her as you would a ring of marriage, for her fidelity is as sound as any mountain. God wants her on your side, so do it. Let her join you. She is far more gifted than any of you imagine. Would you do this?
I cannot refuse a true emissary of God.
I knew you were of good heart, Captain Baudricourt. I knew you would see the light. I promise you will prevail. Should you have her beside you, promise God this.
I will, Archangel. but you must concede that by initial appearance, her request seemed a goal out of her reach.
But she has the backing of many a saint, myself included, not to mention that of the Creator himself.
She'll be inducted into my ranks upon her next visit, I promise.
Good men. Thank you, Captain Benecourt.
Baudricourt bows to the Archangel, who then leaves him as Baudricourt exits. Scene 6, a campfire. At Rise, Gaspard, Arnaud, and Jean confer on a moonlit night.
It's amazing. She won't even let us swear.
We could only swear allegiance to our Lord.
Strange. Most of us behave ourselves when in her presence, myself included. I won't rejoice in the joys of revelry upon her gaze. In the company of our young captain's visage, I willingly curb that behavior.
What if the enemy slices off our hand? Do we blow them a kiss with the other?
But she is a girl of 19. She may not even be of that age. Not 20, that's for certain. But there is a prevailing quality about our Jean d'Arc.
Aye, she may lead us to the victory in Orleans.
If she shatters the bonds that have been placed upon us, that would be divinity undisputed.
Truth.
The only way we'd enjoy such a victory would be because the enemy would fall over laughing so hard that we should let a teenager lead us. It would be luck, gentlemen. Regardless, soon she'll scream for her mother and beg to be taken home.
I don't know, Gaspard. Somehow I don't believe that.
Indeed, the girl is committed.
One thing I will say for our prepubescent leader. She does not seem to fear death, at least from what I've heard. She has yet to be tried in battle, though.
Once the game's afoot, I think she'll douse the flames of doubt against her.
Truth!
Bravery! Oh, don't. Oh, I'm sorry. I think it's skipped on.
That's okay.
Fearlessness is a quality of hers.
As is courage.
Bravery.
Honor.
Fie on it.
Let's not forget charisma.
Let's not.
You two are in love with the maid?
No, Gaspard. We simply know our place.
And to know our place is to prevail.
Oh, and I know mine.
Gaspard, I'm not sure I trust the gleam in your eye. What plans have you laid?
You've no intention for skullduggery, have you?
We are doomed beneath the umbrella of her leadership. Doomed, I say. But after I'm done with her, Robert de Becourts will lead us to victory. What audacity does this little lamb has to roar with the lions?
Uncertain about that, Gaspard. Baudricourt seems to tote the banner pretty high for the girl, as does the Dauphin.
Aye, he's destined to become king by Joan's hand, if she has anything to say about it, and methinks she does.
Whatever you have in mind for her, Gaspard, quickly abandon it.
Truth.
We'll see, my friends. I'll bring back a positive report.
Gaspard, all jocularity forsaken, please don't do anything. She's as tough as an iron-wrought sword.
As am I, ARNEAU. As am I.
Gaspard exits. Arnaud and Jean look to each other.
Now, where did Baptista put that shovel?
Why?
For the graves we'll have to dig.
Scene 7, Joan's tent. Joan sleeps. Gaspard enters the tent with the greatest of stealth. He looms over the sleeping Joan a moment, then reaches out to grab her face. Joan suddenly grabs his wrist, pulls it across his body away from her, then plunges a knife into his eye. He screams as the dagger bleeds him out. Joan twists his arm behind his back and marches Gaspard out of the tent. Soldiers, alerted by the screams, emerge from their tents to discover the source of turbulence. Joan guides Gaspard to the nearest campfire and throws him into it. She then relieves a soldier of his truncheon, advances on the burning Gaspard, and soundly beats him with it. Wham! 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 Frat! Joan then returns the truncheon to the soldier and faces everyone there.
This is the fate that shall befall any man who attempts sexual commerce on me sans permission. I am not here to dally, play at dice, or relieve the tensions of wayward, lonely soldiers. I'm here to expel the invader, crown the Dauphin as your rightful king, and to raise the siege of Orleans, as well as anywhere else the crud of foreign oppression screams to be washed off. I will not rest until every last invader is driven to the gates of exit and every last Burgundian is re-educated to love their motherland as their own again. Get me wrong not, I am not here for any other reason. No other purpose thrusts me to the grounds of these camps. Is that clear, thou surly, unclean, contemptible dogs of war?
The soldiers agree with fearful respect.
Splendid. Get ye to your beds. Tomorrow we plot their doom.
Joan dismisses them with a wave of her hand. Catherine enters.
Wow.
Lady.
Rise, dearest, and gaze upon me as an equal. Once upon a time I did breathe the air as you do now.
But do the villains that brought about your death?
So very long ago, child. So many centuries in the past. Time instructs us in the fine art of forgiveness. Heavenly pardon comes more easily than it does on earth. Your vibrant heart can't fully conceive of it yet.
No, it can't. And thus my uncertainty concerning God's grace upon me reigns in the kingdom of my mind.
Believe you your cause to be benevolent and true? Is your mission a good one? Believe you in its virtue?
Yes.
Then God's grace may yet be upon you bestowed.
No, wait, don't leave.
God calls, he must be answered forthwith.
But you're so beautiful.
You'll see me again? I am always close to you.
Catherine embraces Joan, then she exits. Joan then kneels to the long-suffering Gaspard and places a hand on him.
You were bathed in your iniquity, urged on by an intention placed within your mind by the adversary. Yea, Gaspard, you learned that your perfidy led you nowhere. But now you shall bathe in light, in the glory that heaven intends for us all. Rise, my son, and with rebirth stand in healing waters. May the joy de vivre enlighten your mind and bring happiness to your heart.
Gaspard sits up, absolutely healed, if not strengthened.
Captain, how I have wronged you.
But no more. Now you shall breathe better air. Your steps will be lighter, and the shadow of perfidy over you will diminish. Now shall the sun cast its light on your newfound glory.
I am not but your servant now. I am he that shall do your bidding with ardent enthusiasm. Please bid me by your side in all things, now and always as your grateful subordinate, your right arm, your true knight. My thanks, O leader, my unending gratitude.
Brings Gaspard to his feet.
Sleep now, Gaspard. Rest ye in the Lord's grace. Tomorrow, my friend, we have a day to face.
Gaspard bows and exits. Joan then looks to see daybreak. Looking to the sunrise, she prays fervently. Scene 8. A battlefield in the aftermath of war. Joan of Arc stands victoriously with her French Armagnac soldiers over defeated and captured English and French Burgundian soldiers, who sit or squat on the ground. Michael and Baudricourt stand with her.
Verily thou heardst the cry, au nom de Dieu. A credit to your intelligence it is that you should yield to that cry. Now in the eyes of some of you, I see you still believe you own the lands you had before this battle. Extinguish that thought from your minds immediately. Despite your defiant glares, the spirit of your original leader, the Plantagenet Henry V, has been shattered. You will never see it mended. From this moment on, your ships will sink, your swords will break, and your spirits will drown and perish in the seas of disarray. Fool yourselves not, your coalition lies in peril. Lay down your weapons, douse your torches, abandon your bivouacs, shred your battle mats, drown your hopes in the vile rivers of despair, for conquest now exceeds your grasp. Cease the beating of your drums, desist in the beating of your chests, and wind up your bloody flag. Dwell you thoroughly in your defeat, stew in it, you bested men of a false conquering philosophy, for your days of conquest and triumph conclude now.
Slams her pommel on the ground, inciting thunder. Scene 9, Joan's tent. The thunder persists. Joan sits up on her bed along with Margaret.
I know your thoughts, Joan.
What are they, Godsend?
You're wondering about the validity of your efforts and what echoing effects they'll have in the future. You have done God's work. That's all that matters. The dust settles on the field, but one who rests on the road completes not the journey, and only adversity follows.
How could adversity ever visit you, godson?
Think you this was always my state?
Apologies. I've just never seen you in any other state.
We have a 1,108-year gap between us. Once you initially see someone, you believe them to have always existed in that state.
I suppose so.
You've come so far, Jeanne d'Arc. We've seen you eschew the customary practices of your youthful peers, as have I. And thus, with this choice, you cast off the carnal urges.
Such activity crosses my mind not. My purpose is clear, my road is paved and uncluttered by the meaner aspects of flesh and desire. It all means nothing to me. In time, should I survive this mission, which is unlikely, perhaps I might consider a mate. As it is now, the weapons and armor will be my closest companions, godson.
Oh, well steeled in your vocation, Joan. Our hearts sing, our voices celebrate in a joy that one day you'll share in. Choosing not to have children is wise. The flesh and the spirit are ever at war.
Why do you tell me this?
Fleshly desires may overtake at any time.
Not for me.
Heartbreak of mothering children. They may not outlive their parents. I'm proof of this statement. Perhaps my father could have done better in the sentiment department. Having disowned me for a discrepancy in faith, philosophy, fear, choose your reason. I'm sure my decapitation warmed his heart, feeling it to be poetic justice for my difference in belief systems. I was cut down by the sword of pride. Yea, a saint they made of me, but so many of us that bear that title arrive at it with a dubious means of travel. Stories I could tell you. Now the time dwindles and I must depart again.
Wait, please, oh godson, don't leave me again. Please sit with me a while longer. Let me just know happiness a few moments more.
Margaret sits with Joan and braces her with one arm.
Such immense strength you house, Maid of Orleans. I feel a rawness of power beside me as you gaze at the featureless walls of your tent. You don't wish to adorn them with softer memories of home and hearth, for your discipline as a soldier forbids it. The awaiting tribulation will not last long. Should the enemy take you down and revel in the chorus of your agony, you will achieve with flying colors what they can only hope, perhaps in vain to be anywhere near. Your work is as yet unfinished.
Tucks Joan in and kisses her on the forehead.
Good night, dear Joan.
Good night, my godson.
Joan falls asleep. Margaret vanishes. Scene 10. A theater. With blaring fanfare, the Armagnac soldiers carry Charles VII to the stage, and once he gets there, he faces the audience and waves in the stereotypical royal manner.
Thank you. Everybody, thank you, thank you. Looks like every effort was made by Philippe the Good to keep the crown off my head has come to naught. Never fuck with the wisdom of divinity, guys. All you get is exhausted and heartbroken, depending on how committed you are to your anti-divinity cause.
Rimshot!
I'd say the Burgundians are chewing rather sour grapes right now, wouldn't you?
Audience members catcall.
And I've got the Maid of Orleans to thank for it. You should see her out there. Unstoppable. She's such a sweet-looking girl. Not very big at all, but on the battlefield, she's a whirlwind. Dervishes are taking notes.
Rimshot!
Joan is very committed to my ascension to the throne. As you see, she made it all possible. You hear that, Henry Monmouth? You Plantagenet son of a bitch bastard? It's over! Curse you! You took advantage of a cancerous civil war, exploited the breach of it so you could rule, but now you're dead, and the crown has fallen onto the rightful head. Oh, sorry, everyone, but certain wounds never heal, at least not properly.
Rimshot!
Would you stop that, please?
Sorry.
Now, not that I ever wanted my father dead to acquire this crown, but okay, And tell me if I'm wrong. If the crown is supposed to come to you, it's rightfully yours. And then some foreign motherfucker comes out of nowhere and stabs at that open wound of your country, which is at a civil war, as if it didn't have enough problems. And he does it for the sheer nasty agenda of taking it for himself, that he has no earthly or goodly right to do. Salic laws be fucked. If you were in my shoes, you'd be just as pissed off as I was. Don't tell me you wouldn't be.
Rim shot.
By the way, I'm done a thorough disservice in theatrical literature in a certain play by a certain bard. Truth is during the Battle of Anticourt. Oh, okay, in real actual life, I was 12 years old. At 17, I was denied the crown. But look at me now. Suck it, Henry V.
Audience members cheer.
Anyway, this was a major achievement by Joan of Arc. Were it not for her, I'd be eating swill for the rest of my days and being bullied by subordinates not worthy to spit shine my regal boots.
Ream shot.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just sorry things turned out for you the way they did. At least you weren't crucified upside down and sawn in half like that zealot Simon was. Ugh. Just the same. Horrific deaths. You saints all die, as if death didn't come soon enough. How dare the powers that be hotly lift their noses in the air as blood freely splatters and stains the ground beneath them. But the privileged feel no pain, and the dispossessed bravely face the wars ahead on an embrace then as they would old friends. We could learn something from those we step on, but their lessons go unheeded. How poor we were for our ignorance. But why wish for the impossible? The truth of the word of God is obscured, and my energy fails at every attempt to unearth it. Anyway, on with the production.
The battlefield known as Compiègne. Joan faces a slew of the enemy. She draws her sword and glares at them.
Your fire's just about out, Maid of Orleans. Your horse has abandoned you, as of those who may have laughed at you behind your back all this time.
I'll give you something to laugh at, Burgundian toad. If you think my strength is in the number of men behind me, you're as mistaken about that as you are in the belief that you're going to heaven.
The enemy descends on Joan, making her drop her sword. She punches one, backhands another, unsheaths a dagger, and slashes another's throat with a backhand swing. An enemy swings a truncheon, but she dodges, dashes past him, and stabs him in the kidneys. He falls. Another foeman brings a sword up to cut her in half, but she parries it with her dagger, jams her blade into his nuts. The foeman falls, and then Joan lands on top of him and starts punching away at his face. Yet another enemy charges, but Joan catches him by the throat, eviscerates him with her dagger. As this foeman staggers off, tripping on his guts, Joan continues to punch away at the enemy beneath her. Joan's Chastelain comes up from behind Joan and grabs her doublet, yanks her to the ground.
I don't know what whoremonger sent you here, witch, but you can tell him you'll be slaughtered like a cow for your raging impudence. Never in my life can I believe someone like you could exist, but your existence is about to be snuffed.
Joan punches him right in the face. He bolts away. Then she kicks him in the guts, staggering him. 3 Burgundian soldiers then land on her and restrain the maid. Georges unsheaths his sword and prepares to butcher her. A soldier named Andre comes to him.
No, wait! Don't do it!
I slice her head off like a sausage.
Not advisable, brother. She has to be taken alive.
The armchair generals and the clergy insist upon that. Let them be kicked in the balls and see how they feel about it.
You know the penalty for disobeying orders, George. Besides, my friend, revenged, as they say.
All right. I'll smash her skull in when I'm in a more calculating mood. Let's get her to her cell. It awaits.
A prison yard. Joan stands against the wall watching a weary sunrise. Andre sidles up to her.
What say, prisoner?
Cast your gaze at me not, traitor. Your presence churns my stomach.
I'll let you rant, girl. For even now they prepare your stake. I see your power dwindles at the prospect of death.
The power still resides, it's just yet to be called upon.
I don't know. Maybe death has no effect on you, prisoner. You were foolish enough to engage as a woman in a man's war, and to wind up here when you had the chance to leave?
A woman in a man's war. It's quite a concept, isn't it?
Unprecedented, to say the least.
A man cries for his mom, as does a woman in combat's thick. When he finds his displaced arm 10 feet away from the rest of him, or when he finds his intestines tripping him up on the run, or when he sneezes only to find that his throat's been slit. All of these things I've witnessed, and in their happening, the bravado of men descends into an unimagined hell. I resolved in 4 days what men couldn't even in 6 months. You scoff at my sex? Take this scorn to the fallen at Orleans, Jargeau, Meung, Regency, even those at Compiègne. Take it to the now crowned Charles VII, man. You laugh at me in those realms, and it will be countered by gales of mirth right back at you.
No one can dispute your courage, Maids of Orleans, but death injects terror in the bravest of souls.
Were I afraid of death, I'd have never taken up the fight. Perhaps at time's end, when death and I meet, we'll be the best of friends, despite that angel's terrifying countenance.
Death is cold, lady, and often injudicious. Have you ever mourned the death of those you freshly killed?
If God instructs me toward a certain end and bestows me with the means by which to achieve it, I have nothing to mourn. But you, sir, will have much to regret. A traitor in any land offends God, and in time these words I speak will forever resoundingly haunt you.
Shall I now burst into tears? Shall I now crash to the earth on my knees in contrite? Terrified supplication and beg your forgiveness?
It won't be my forgiveness you seek.
Ha! Advice from the condemned.
Condemned in the earthly flesh, in the bleeding physical body. How much victory can be claimed in the burning of a helpless victim?
I wouldn't exactly call you a helpless victim. If you're trying to convey innocence to me, that time has certainly passed.
Yes, because your mind has been poisoned against me, against any hope of my innocence in your eyes. I'm not ashamed of my actions. It's you that should be, for you, sir, have fallen into bed with the invading scum that plague us.
Rant on, girl. Yes, rant on.
Now, soldier, tell me the honesty of your heart. Feel you as something different in the air since the rising of my star? Because I certainly do.
Meaning?
I feel a deflation in the spirit of the enemy now. Despite my capture, things are just not the same for them anymore. Their confidence is bloodied, and deep down in their hearts, they know they'll never rebuild it. I may burn Burgundy, and they may spirit away my charred corpse, throw my remains into squalor of a promised land, of eternal punishment, and abscond with the relics of my ruin. Yea, all these events may happen, but regardless, the mark I'll leave behind will be indelible. The fact of it is, soldier, it's over. Their spirit of conquest is broken and bloodied.
I'll rejoice when your cinders ascend to the heavens.
And I'll weep when yours descend to the depths of Hades.
Will you?
Oh, yes. The pictures painted of hell would run a heart through with the sword of terror. I would spare you the hell of eternal torment. Now I know the insect of heresy buzzes within the minds of the clergy, so loud it drowns out the voices of God's messengers. I hear how enthusiastically they toss about epithets like whore, witch, sorceress, stabbing me with these accusations because they simply cannot believe that a woman, of all entities, has torn asunder their male representatives. The thirst for my blood parches them, but no matter how brutally I am thrust from this world, I will ascend. I only pray you do as well, and we too will be as good of friends as the best ones we've ever made.
Moved by Joan's words, Andre can only stare a moment.
My name is Andre.
Pleasure to meet you, Andre.
The pleasure's all mine. Excuse me, Miss Joan. I'm being called away. I wish I could say take care, but...
I'll be well taken care of, my friend, by my enemies and by those who await me.
Despite his Burgundian allegiance, Andre bows to Joan and exits. Michael appears. Joan sees him. The archangel winks at her and vanishes. As the sun brightens in the yard, Joan looks ahead and smiles, then drops to her knees and begins to pray. The prison yard moments later. Satan comes upon the fervently praying Joan. He addresses the audience.
Like that sunrise? I used to be responsible for bringing the world such light, but then you all know what went down with me. Get it? Down? God calls. He must be answered forthwith. Our little Joan is a believer in that statement. She liberated herself from all her peers and delights that she might have otherwise shared with them, and you know what? I am really made sad by that. But then I don't adhere to anything godly. Not anymore. Joan was denied her childhood. I don't care how holy the mission was. You were stripped of your joy, honey, and you have every right to be pissed off at him for it. Now you all know what's going to happen to Joan here, right? Come on, we're just telling her story. It's like the story of the Son of God. Anywhere you come into his story, no matter where it is you come in, you know what's going to happen to the guy. We've all known it for 2,000 years. He was just as committed to his mission as our sweet Lady Joan was to hers. God lets burn the ones he professes to love the most, uses them like temporary sources of power. And when that power finally diminishes and fades, he forgets all about them. He advocates a kingdom of bedlam, with the preciousness of life cast into the pitch-dark pit of unimportance. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die, the adage touts. But if you follow my philosophy and embrace your mortality as you should, you'd eat, drink, be merry, and tomorrow you wouldn't have to die. And Joan, do you really think she wants to die? No one wants to die, my friends. I've got to make it my mission to save her from the flames of godly righteousness. Now, some of you people out there are agog with terror right now. To behold me is an abomination before all that's holy, but you misread me. I'm not such a bad guy. My road is merely the one less traveled. One day you'll see me for what I really am, or for what I was, anyway.
End of Act 1. Straw on ahead. Act 2, Scene 1. The prison yard. Joan stands against the wall, wondering which stake she'll burn at. Satan manifests and comes to her.
Howdy! You taking good care of you, Joan?
Oh, no. No, 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 nuh-uh. Go away. I will not hear you. I refuse to hear you. Most adamantly, do I refuse to hear you. You are 19 years too late, devil. Waste not your time.
Time's all I got, baby. It's all I've ever had. But now, since I've been kicked out of Paradise Way, I've got even more time. You'll indulge me, I'm sure.
Oh, Lord in heaven.
A lot of good he's doing you now, huh?
Be gone.
Not just yet.
Please.
I said not just yet.
Out of your way.
Ah, if only. I've got to say, I've always admired your work. Really, it's quite spectacular. The way you've infused bewilderment, anger, and despair into a well-woven tapestry of defeat for the enemy. Absolute unbridled genius.
Thank you.
But now here you are, in all your rebellious splendor, caged like the pet birds of the pharaohs. Even after death, Henry V employed the very best. They had it all. And then along came Joan.
Indeed.
The most amazing thing about you, Joan, is how unafraid you are of me.
It always comes back to you, doesn't it?
No, you don't understand. Everybody's afraid of me.
Not everybody, Lucifer.
Were it not for me, the church wouldn't have anything to hold over the heads of their parishioners. Sure, they can talk about things heavenly ad infinitum, but ultimately, where's the fun in that? I'm the change of pace they need to shake things up. With me in the equation, they don't bore their congregation to death.
Congratulations.
Your writes no chapter in your autobiography, though. I gotta say, I am honestly and mightily impressed.
Honestly.
I know what you're thinking. They'll tell you anything in church.
What use have you for me? Can't you see I'm already damned?
I have a proposition for you. One I think you'll like, since the kingdom above has betrayed you.
Rein in that confidence, Satan. Your horse has no rider.
All you gotta do is hear me out, sweetie.
Slather me not with false terms of endearment, Satan, and you tread lightly there.
Hey, look, I'm Satan, all right? I'm the king of the fucking underworld. I'll say what I want to whomever I want. You hear me? Now, come on, Joan. I'm trying to be nice to you. Nicety is not my strong suit. It's very difficult for a raging curmudgeon like me to evince pride in anyone, but you, Joan, are the exception. I'm a really big fan. I don't want to upset you. It's just my nature to put all my cards on the table.
They might come for me at any time.
Basically, you gave France back to France. How could I not be impressed? Those victories by your sword and lance, one after the other, wow! You tell me the enemy's not smarting despite your capture. Nothing short of amazing.
They'll come at any time.
They're not going to come for you anytime soon, Joan. You've been here since, what, January? the beginning of May now, sweetie. They're taking their time. You've given them something else to do beside contemplate the heavens they can only read about in books. Were they in a hurry to make of you a charred corpse? It would have happened months ago.
Michael appears.
Don't even think about it.
Oh, here we go again, Mr. Spoilsport. Here he is again, ladies and gentlemen, to douse the flames of yet another great idea. How's it going, Mikey?
Leave her alone.
And what if I say no? We're evenly matched on Earth, pal. In fact, I might even have an advantage down here.
You know, lots better than that not to challenge me, Lucifer.
Yeah, I know. You've always had the bigger dick.
The lady is a decent child of God.
So was I, motherfucker.
Do not set aflame the beauty of her worship.
Oh, yeah, right, Mikey. A child of God, right? Is that the card you're going to play now, buddy? Huh? Those motherfuckers are going to fry your child of God for heresy. You going to stand for that? Looks like God is going to leave another one of his devoted children in the lurch. How ironic is that?
I'd rather I admit it.
Got that right, God send. And who's going to talk those pig friggers out of burning Joan to a crisp, huh, sucker? They see me, they're going to run out of there lightning quick with a trail of flaming hypocrisy scat behind them. But you, oh angel of the bigger dick, if there was ever any proof of heaven, you are it, my son. You could talk them out of it. But are you going to? I don't see it in your eyes, bud. I see in those heavenly orbs the urge to tell our Joan here to gleefully burn by the will of our Creator. What kind of dad tells his kids to burn and smolder with Christian fortitude? Easy to say when it ain't you.
Your thin ice sings a telltale crack there, bud.
You ever take Joan's feelings into account? She's been a braver warrior than many a man with a set of balls between his legs, but now she faces her mortality. All that hard work from her for naught. Look at the pillow in her cell, Michael, stained with the tears of mortal terror. Why are these beacons of the just created only to be spat upon? People are the rulers of the world. They deserve better than the threats they're saddled with.
Oh, quit stalling, Satan, and divulge your purpose if you dare.
Tish, you say Satan like it's a bad thing.
Do it.
Oh no, Officer Michael, now that you're here, won't you bust it up? Because I wouldn't want to ruin your day the way you've ruined mine. See, I'm better than that. I don't want to deflate the woody you get by throwing a damper on my designs, especially with such a captive audience.
Our mutual friend here has devised a scheme wherein you would help him take over heaven.
Oh, can't you see it, Joan? Just as you did in life, you'll brandish a well-wrought lance, wear armor glistening with the glorious reflection of hellfire, charging forth with a legion of my children cheering you on, your name a powerful mantra as they surge onward to reclaim the beautiful land they once called home.
You lay it on thick, don't you, Lucifer?
What do you expect?
Don't listen to him, Joan. He'll have you in a shit-filled cavern of the wailing damned. That's how much he hates us.
Why wouldn't she lead us, Archangel? Joan was as pious as you please, and now she's got to end up like this? No wonder people don't know whether or not they're in God's grace. Joan, are you sure you've allied yourself with the right celestial? It seems you're naught but a flash in the pan to him.
Joan will not give in to your silver-tongued proposition.
You going to tell her how to think now, Michael? You going to decide for her? That's the whole problem with heaven and the church and all you bastards. Too dictatorial. You abominate free will. It's like playing a game with too many rules. You're afraid to breathe on the board.
Mistaken as always, Lucifer. Now you've officially worn out your welcome.
Readies a sword.
Oh, no, yep. That's right. The final yardstick makes its heavenly appearance. The answer to everything. Once the debate is lost, out comes the blades. Joni, I don't need an executive decision right now. Even after death, there's always time. Always.
Exits.
How correct is he, Michael? Are we humans not but cogwheels in a greater clock? Must we cast off our humanity for unimaginable forces? Have I been led astray? Satan wanted me for his conquest, but does God want the same? Does God use people, Michael? If I'd been told this was the fate awaiting me, did you fear that I'd refuse? Should I be here, Michael?
Joan exits. A stage in heaven. Michael, Catherine, and Margaret converge on the stage and ponder the correctness of their previous actions.
They were all good questions, I have to admit. In heaven, things are much simpler, but once earthly logic is applied to heaven agenda, the waters muddy somewhat.
All you need to do is apply the godly agenda to your actions. That's what keeps us in this best of all possible places. Trust in God as did Abraham.
Oh, don't even go there. Do not even mention that.
Margaret?
You know exactly what I'm talking about. The tests people are put through. Sometimes heaven.
I wouldn't even think of such hubris were I you.
Yeah, I know, Michael. We all know what God employs you for. None of us need to be reminded. But this episode with Joan, somehow I can't swallow the drink it offers me.
A sour drink often tastes sweeter in the end. All journeys house an element of difficulty, but the fruits of laborious travel appear brilliantly to the senses. Yea, dear Margaret, we are all proof of this.
We might be, but I suffered for God's sake. To have Joan die by the hands of political vermin? Somehow I can't stand by for it. Catherine, the beauty of your worship could grow gardens. It makes me wonder if I'm worthy of your company anymore. But I had no idea this was going to be the case.
She's done her work. She's done God's work.
And now she has to burn for it? How long have you known about this, Michael?
Since she was 12.
And you didn't say anything because...
God's orders.
You're just a puppet, aren't you? You're a wind-up toy for all your great power. Not but a yes man, Archangel. If I'd known this was the fallout, I'd have never signed up for this mission. This is wrong, and I'm going to do something about it.
Margaret, don't go against the wisdom of God.
God's wisdom may be great, Catherine. It may be infinite. It may have given birth to every breathing animal and meaner creature. That wisdom may have inspired the greatest minds mankind has ever known, but no one should be murdered for doing as was asked of them. If I feel the fires of hell blazing to strip me of my feathered wings to replace them with leather ones, should the torments of the netherworld visit me in a parade of me and forever taint the whiteness of my robe, set it afire, and laugh like the maddest spirit of the devil himself, Archangel, I will burn smiling.
She storms right off. Michael and Catherine look to each other.
Wow.
Men.
Scene 3 is secluded woodland. Margaret storms through the rustic patch, where she encounters Satan sitting on a tree stump. At first, she storms right by him.
Don't even bother.
Pardon me?
Forget it. Turn round and head back to your tuffet, Miss Muffet. The spider will feast on its curds and whey in good time.
Is that so?
Fret not, Maggie. Joan's been slated for sainthood in 500 years or so, if that's what you're worried about.
I'm not worried about her spirit. I'm worried about her life.
Weren't you and Kathy and Mikey the ones that got her into this?
Yes.
But you're feeling kind of bad about it now, aren't you? Otherwise, you wouldn't be trying to save her from the judicial pig roast. I know the crisis you're in, the one you're slogging through right now. In heaven, you say to God, sure, how high do you want me to jump? You involuntarily obey God, but once you get to solid earth, where the second thoughts and cold feet and the doubts of mankind cloud the purity of your mission, then you backpedal. You reassess the authority vested in you, and that's perfectly natural because you finally see the ugliness of what you're being asked to do. You know what I mean?
Say no more, I beg you.
I'm really surprised at your lack of Christian fortitude, Maggie. Pristine godsends like you should have a little more chutzpah than what you're displaying. Holy cow, what a disappointment. Well, take heart, baby. I knew this was going to happen all the time.
Knew what?
That Joan was going to burn. I knew it before any of you guys.
And you did nothing to intervene? Seems you're guilty of whatever it is you're trying to pin on me.
I'm not guilty of anything.
Guilty of everything.
Particularly autonomous thought.
Your autonomous thought got you thrown into a kingdom of eternal punishment.
Right, and that's a punishment not only reserved for me there, Mags. It can happen to anyone. Even in heaven, nobody's completely out of the woods. Right now, honey, you're just aching to join me where I live.
I know you have a predilection for self-pity, Lucifer, and in your case, it's understandable. Now, excuse me.
Hate to see you waste your time.
Oh, time is all we have, right?
Right on, Margaret. Stick it to the man. Personally, I am very proud of you, but Margaret, you do not want that kind of trouble with the big guy. Hubris is a colossal pet peeve with him.
Oh, I'm sure I'll get a demerit or two, but those assholes are gonna burn Joan for heresy.
Enter Michael.
Margaret!
Speaking of assholes.
Margaret, would you please come back?
This is between me and Maggie Cockblocker. Take a hike.
I'm not leaving without Maggie, Lucifer, so stuff it.
All right, bozo, just give me a minute, will you?
You've got 1 minute.
Look, Margaret, I know you're doing what you feel in your heart is right, but once upon a time he created me and I was hot. I mean, every man's idol and every woman's dream. Little difference in ideology, wee tiny bit of autonomous thought, and boom, he drops me like a hot potato. Now look at me. He could just as easily turn on you, honey.
Time's up, Lucifer. Let her go.
Don't save Joan if it's her cosmic destiny to burn.
If I don't save her, will you?
I made her an offer, but I'm in touch with God enough as it is. More trouble with that jerk Mikey over there I don't need.
Strange that you should back the will of God, Lucifer. After all this time, are you trying to repent?
Don't make me laugh, sweetie. I know there's no redemption for me.
Satan, let her go.
Isn't patience a virtue, Michael?
Margaret.
Margaret flees.
Oh, Margaret.
Wow, look at her go. Cheetahs are jealous of that speed, man.
What did you say to her?
I was doing your job, friend. But you'd better get on the trail after her before you miss all the fireworks.
You're disgustingly sick individual, Satan. I'll be watching you like a hawk.
I'll be looking forward to it. Godspeed.
A disgusted Michael leaves behind a grinning Satan. The gates of Rouen. Margaret stands at the gates. Catherine comes to her.
Margaret.
No, she's got to be saved.
Life is not always a long bestowed gift. Only God can answer the questions of the greater mystery.
But she's so young.
As were you!
She's too young to be felled by this meanest of methods.
Yea, it is a mean method, but in the outcome of the death she'll suffer is a glory untold on earth. You should know this, having inhabited so long in the kingdom of heaven.
Why must saints such as we suffer the most horrible deaths? Roasting, skinning, drowning, beheading, being eaten alive, boiling, crucifixion? Why must absolutely committed servants of God be answered in the ghastliest ways?
A pound of hell is worth an eternity in heaven.
I'm not sure I understand.
Work not against the orders of divinity.
Or shed thy wings in the twinkling of an eye.
Divinity is forever.
Not according to Lucifer.
He chose poorly. You won't.
I don't know, Catherine.
I do know.
How?
Faith.
But I find myself terrified at the prospect of residing in hell. The prospect of joining the ranks of satanic infamy. What a fence I'm on.
God makes no wrong decisions, even if it does seem wrong to the earthly human mind. Heaven and earth clash within you now. Let me help you through it.
How?
Prayer.
A ravine. Having jumped out of a 70-story tower, Joan lays upon the soft earth, stunned by the impact of landing. Andre comes to her.
My word, Joanne La Pucelle. I'd have never thought in all my days on Earth that anyone would try anything like what you've just done. A 70-story jump to liberation? No rope? No pinions with which to climb down the walls? Just a 70-story leap of faith?
An attempt was worthy of entertainment.
At this time, I would surely believe you are of a heavenly origin. Anyone else would have had their brains dashed out on those rocks over there. But God aimed the trajectory of your fall in just the right path. I am truly amazed, Joan.
I'm meant to die one way, I won't die in another. As I cannot move at present, why don't you just take my head now and get it over with? Any other lackey would.
Because we're friends, Joan. Or at least I'd like to think we are. But you're right. I am a lackey, and proud to be so. My state of lack gives strength to the Burgundian English coalition. My only regret about bringing you back is the monstrous joy the clerics will feel at your screams of agony. Sometimes righteousness wears a terrible face.
Indeed.
But lackeys serve their superiors. Why some people consider this a terrible thing, I don't know. To follow orders keeps me fat, happy, and food on the table for my family.
The outcome of following orders can be damnable.
Don't try to scare me, girl. It's you we're concerned with.
Does that concern entail lighting the kindling beneath me? A strange sense of concern that is, Andre.
At last, you give me back my name.
Your practice with me is not saving my soul. It's more like just dispatching a problem.
You're the one with the problem, Joan. It seems you were certain of your grace in God.
Yes, that's what they hold over the heads of everyone. Were it not for the way they wield the weapons of faith and political control, no one would listen to them. I may not be in God's grace, but they may be in the devil's. The clergy leave no stone unturned concerning a reason to do their violence. God and the devil are merely excuses in their ongoing passion for the spilling of blood. Yea, let them all be drowned in the oceans of blood on a battlefield. They'll never care to see the color of red again. And grace, Andre, is earned. We only know the real status of our personal grace in God after our deaths.
Do you honestly believe you are in God's grace?
On that great day, my friend, we will all find out together. Yet I tell you with the most ardent honesty that I can muster, that whatever destination awaits me upon my leaving this vale, my mind has always been free of satanic impulse.
Perhaps so, Joan. But now you need to come with me.
I don't need to come with you. I need to show the invaders the door. That's what I need. That's what our country needs to be cured of the infection of foreign rule.
Tell this not to the clerics. They'll only erect the stakes with more expedients. Maybe out of all the legion of enemies you're in the midst of, I am the one enemy whose ears are unblocked to your plight.
You're no enemy, Andre.
Maybe in prayer I'll come to know the music of your truth.
Truth is molded by everyone so that it can be lived with. And often the real truth is obscured.
What is it about you, Joan? Why are you so magnetic to some of us?
Joan passes out. Scene 6. The field of the Abbey at Saint-Ouen. The Duke of Bedford, Bishop Pierre Cauchon, Etienne LETREMOUILLE, Thomas COURCELLES, DEVISTET, Archbishop STOGUMBER, and the Earl of Warwick congregate on these grounds.
Our most ardent adversary still breathes the air, still gazes with contempt at our unity with her willing countrymen. She spits and rails upon a power greater than she and hers, as we have presented reward and comradeship to her consenting brethren. With your fidelity served, you shall prevail in all things, yet our enthralled adversary continues in her rebellion, despite her incarceration. For months she has languished there, facing her impending doom. I say unto you, bring it about. I say thee, close the curtain on this wayward actress's stage, and wipe clean the memory of her malignant visage from all, so that history will never give her a second glance. Cauchon, you will spearhead this mission. You will see to it that her ashes will stain the kindling beneath her, that the stench of her burning form pervades the nostrils of the witnesses before her. Yea, she shouts that the spirit of our coalition has been shattered, but will be rebuilt upon the foundation of her remains, and the relics she'll leave behind will be forever obscured from the souls that survive her. Do this with expedience, Bishop Cauchon, or you'll suffer the same fate intended for this Joan of Arc. And this promise will be thoroughly carried through.
Exits.
Well, we certainly have our work cut out for us, don't we, Bishop?
I would say yes, Warwick, but flames cannot be ignited for no reason. Even Bedford is aware of the correct parameters.
I'd say we acquiesce to the Duke's instructions. Our coalition might seem a weaker entity than it really is when our common enemy chews with her bleeding teeth.
Here, here. We've amassed an extensive diatribe against the sorceress, numbered enough to ensure any witch's demise by fire. YOLO.
Heartily do I agree with these fellows. Proof of the darker kingdom resides in her. And the only hope of extinguishing a hellish fire is to extinguish it with the flames of earth and Christian fortitude. Weed it well, Bishop Cauchon. I'll wield it as the righteous would have me, but douse it I shall, should the will of God stay my hand. This war, as do all wars, incites a bloodthirst from primordial depths. And once a charismatic entity successfully inserts their will into the minds open to it, and that will is murderous, the thirst for blood cascades within the soul, corroding its better nature, and wrongful death ensues.
A good stance to adopt, Bishop Cauchon. A virtuous mindset indeed, to stay the vile hand of injudicious slaughter, unless that hand rightfully metes out a person's fate. But should the execution be necessary, fear not, and let the embers fly.
In the name of mercy, let our judgment be true. Let it be right, and may the Lord be served.
Amen.
Joan enters and kneels. The council of persecutors then surround her as the saints did in her father's garden. Satan appears.
Oh, yeah. They certainly do believe Jesus reigns in their hearts, don't they? Hearing those sermons on Sunday just brings tears to their eyes. Ooh, now I've no doubt at all that they honestly believe they live in God, but don't let that Cauchon fool you guys. He went to great scurrilous lengths to amass these defenders of the Christian way. His letters to them rang the bells of justice in their hearts, beckoned the truth of judicial comportment to the bishop's side, and like Judas, he betrayed the love of his motherland as the tendrils of political pressure drew him closer to an unjust, cruel, villainous sanctioning of a heart as pure as he'd always wished he had. Well, I'll be seeing our dear Bishop Cauchon shortly, but let's peer into his travesty of a lawful event. At least that's how I remember it.
You're too strong-willed to recant, aren't you, maid?
I have no will. I have nothing.
You have taken up entirely too much of the court's time.
And the court hasn't taken up any of mine.
A court will use a prisoner's time as it pleases.
And God will use your time as he pleases when you find yourself in shackles as I do now.
I disagree. We act in the righteousness of God.
So say we all. But every church is built upon the foundation of interpretation. Every denomination views the word of God as it makes sense to them. No unity exists between any two. Everyone operates under the umbrella of dogma. You all seem victims of that dilemma.
You seem to want to put the entire Burgundian English coalition on trial.
Shouldn't they be?
The only one on trial here is you, Joan Lepus, whatever.
Pucelle.
Thank you.
Yes, righteousness prevails in my defeat. How you gentlemen must be in your glory, for impartial tribunes cannot be found. All the swifter to dispatch me, I gather.
Did you actually engage in battle, Joan, or were you merely a mascot?
Insinuate that again, and your busted jaw will dangle from your skull.
Courcelle hauls off the belcher, but the Inquisitor stops him.
Mercy, sir, is the key to salvation. Your youth betrays the calming of the violence in your heart, Courcelle.
It's her violence we address, Lord Inquisitor.
Joan, do you realize why you're here and why you wear those shackles?
Yes, fully.
Yet, you act as though this were all a surprise. I suppose you can't be blamed. Once we embark on a mission, the wrongness of it is beyond our reasoning.
In a way, it is a surprise. You've accused me of everything a mind can muster, heaped upon me legendary villainy, yet no proof of any of it manifests to the eyes. I see no reason why I should remain.
We see plenty of reasons.
Plenty, indeed.
Naturally.
But you'd never relinquish your heart's desire.
There's nothing for me to relinquish.
There is a myriad of things you must relinquish.
In your eyes?
By the church's authority.
By Bedford's authority, you mean, but the only one with any authority here is God. You, however, cleave to your dogma as though God himself applauded your efforts.
Dogma. You keep bringing up dogma.
Every word you speak is from the mouth of the devil.
You bear the devil's numeral beneath your tongue.
You've never been physically close to me to notice, you noodle.
Your voice flavors the air with his thoughts and spreads corruption in their wake.
The desire for freedom of foreign rule is corruption? Should you gaze in a mirror, would you see corruption personified? In the meantime, praise the Lord, burn the witch, and damn the whore. Condemn the unclean sorceress, and make unto the Creator a blood offering that washes clean the sins of the worms you step on.
Guard your tongue, girl.
Guard your soul, man. But I am much more than a simple girl. Were I not, would we all be here?
She's past the benevolent grasp of the Lord.
His gentleness is lost to her. She cannot recant.
So saith your dogma.
Again with your dogma. You're out of your bounds.
Dogma is a rock-solid belief that yours is the only philosophy with any validity.
We know what it is, lady.
I have never thrust my spiritual mindset on anyone. I have only carried out my orders directly from God. The invaders need to leave. France belongs to France and France alone. The English have infected us with unjust authority, and that is not dogma, it is the truth.
Lord, deliver her from the plague of heresy.
What you consider rational thought, Joan, is really an ongoing nefarious doctrine that deafens you to the word of God.
Smite the devil, but beware, the devil might smite back.
She admits it.
I'll teach her to smite devils.
God help this poor, innocent girl.
Might the devil indeed.
I flail the evil from her.
Soldier or mascot, she's dangerous.
Now, Joan Purcell, you shall renounce your allegiance with Satan.
Renounce yours first, Bishop.
Renounce your allegiance, girl.
I have no allegiance with Satan.
You're a liar.
Speak up, Noodle, I can't hear you.
You're mad, girl, and you've always been so.
Your flames of resistance have burned down many a castle.
And did you expect anything less, Bishop?
The way of God demands adherence.
You know nothing of God, Bishop Cauchon. None of you possess an inkling. You use me as an example of the strength you believe that you possess, a cautionary tale to those present. Worship as we would have you worship, as we dictate, or greater power shall upon us descend and exact a penance untold. Your souls belong not to God. As you question my certainty concerning God's grace, you seem quite certain of your own. Hypocrites all! Damn your eyes! Damn all your eyes!
You shall recant your vile code from Lucifer's pen by which you have lived, and no further time shall you consume of the government that has you in its thrall.
Is that the fear of missing some deadline I hear in your voice, Bishop Cauchon?
Cauchon motions the soldier with the riding crop to approach. He does. Once he's there, Cauchon motions for the soldier to assault Joan. With his riding crop, he does. Flap!
Plenty more where that came from.
Worse has been done to me than that, O Noodle. One lash of a rider's crop won't cave me in. Murderous arrows have failed in their course, and a slight thrashing won't assuage me.
Again.
The soldier smites her. Flap!
So you smite me 37 more times, gentlemen. Then this flogging might mean something.
Again.
The soldier smites her. Flap!
Again, lackey, again!
How frail we have left you, Maid of Orleans. Yet you beckon further punishment. This is a troubling scenario.
Troubling for you? Think about how much fun I'm not having.
All you need to do is recant, Joan.
No.
Flap!
Yes.
No, you vile worm!
Flap!
Yes!
Have you renounced your satanic pact, Bishop?
You can't desire your doom, lady.
You certainly can.
Recant!
Doom descends upon us all, Bishop Cauchon. Immortality can only be ours after earthly death. After we part ways with the flesh, the immortality we've been granted is the heaven or hell that we've chosen in life. So where are you destined to arrive, Bishop?
Flap! Flap!
Again, recant!
No, and curse your loins!
Flap! Flap! Flap!
29 more times and you'll have it.
Must your bones be broken to allow your repentance?
You sound almost as if you care, Bishop.
Listen to the pain of your body, Joan. It's an exorcism of demonic weakness.
Thus justifying your violence? Please don't hand me such reasoning, clergymen. Don't ever condescend even to the young. It'll count against you on Judgment Day.
Bring her to her feet.
The other persecutors back off as two other soldiers yank Joan to her feet. The riding crop soldier unsheaths the sword and poises it at her throat.
Oh, God. God help me!
Now she calls out to God. I thought as much. She crumbles at the first encounter with ultimate defeat. Do you call out to our God, Joan?
The God that created us. He's not so deaf to an earnest plea.
Recant, or you'll be butchered.
As you turn away and vomit, Bishop Cauchon, I'll show you bravery, Pious Pete.
Do it.
The soldier hauls off his sword.
No, stop it! Stop him!
Do you recant, Joan?
Yes!
Before God, do you recant with all your heart? Is your God-given soul committed to the expulsion of your collusion with Satan?
Yes! 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 Yes!
The soldiers release Joan, who crumples to the ground. She grabs a fistful of earth and flings it at Cauchon, dirties his robe.
Lackeys, a lot of you.
Everyone disperses, leaving Joan bested and broken on the ground, alone. Satan, who has been nearby all this time, approaches Joan, who remains oblivious to his presence.
What is it with anyone who aspires to residency in heaven? Is the amount of pain and humiliation you're suffering right now equal to the joy and adulation you think you'll feel in paradise? What do they teach you in those churches? They complain about me all the time, but God is slapping his knee and roaring with mirth at how broken you are right now. For your sake, Joan, I hope you do get to heaven. You'd have thrived with me, but like me, you've made an irreversible choice. Godspeed, honey.
Exits. Joan rises to a sitting position.
In all my efforts, I have sworn an ironclad oath to fulfill the mission that God has placed for me. Since the day I uncovered the sword he'd hid for me at the cathedral, I'd held to my breast the faith that forever bloomed in my heart. Upon the doffing of my soldier's clothes and the acquiescing to the demands of the enemy court that I wear women's attire, I have been as much a traitor to God and the saints as the false French have been to their home. And so I will doff these feminine garments that falsely slander a woman's power, and don the clothes of a warrior worthy of wielding swords to defend her home and hearth. My fear at the end of earthly sensation prevailed, saving me from the sword. But now that fear has fled me as would rats from a carpenter's hammer. Prepare your stake, O swine of the enemy coalition, and unite me with those who love and welcome me in earnest.
Scene 7. Joan's cell. Joan sits up in bed praying. Chastellein comes to her, standing outside her cell.
Well, I believe this is the final sunrise of sea maid.
I believe so, and lo, how it must strengthen your manhood.
Anything I do for the coalition does that, Maid of Orleans.
Even besting from behind a young girl.
Even that.
Your soul is desperately poor, isn't it? Yeah, it cries out for the acquisition of importance. I'd wager you're lauded among your peers, given medals of honor and bowed to in the streets of Burgundy, and this hero worship you enjoy may well be earned in your ranks.
But?
But?
There is a but in there somewhere, maid. A warning. Out with it. You've nothing to lose by speaking your piece now. You can only be condemned once, and soon you'll sleep the slumber of the untroubled. Yea, the method may agonize, but you'll be free of this saddening imprisonment that's troubled you this past year's time.
Why did they send you, soldier? To complete your victory over me?
No, to give me the opportunity to tell you that this fate you're about to suffer is well deserved. Insanity reigns with your victory over such brave men in the past, and they call out to me to admonish you once more, to speak for them as you've deprived them of the ability. How possessed are you of the minions of hell to have ever thought of embarking on this path you have set foot on? Madness for a woman to take up this violet mantle.
My guess is that you feel emasculated for the fallen? Is that so? Or maybe just emasculated yourself?
I feel the anger for the dead of the coalition.
And how less high would those flames burn were a man responsible for what you cursed me for? The insult of it all, the effrontery of the harlot before you, madness! What business does a spinner of wool and shepherdess have in raising the weapons of defense? She then deprives the country of the possible future by leading a charge, rather than bending knee to worship her brother. Recover from the shock, Georges. We all believe we serve God's best interests, hoping that we grace his whims correctly. And with this hope, we suffer a pride that may slam us to the ground, as you've stopped me. Tell me, O Burgundian, believe you to be in God's grace?
You are not allowed to do as you have done. You have no permission to.
Whose permission do I need, Georges? Yours? I acquired a command from God. Permission doesn't enter into what I speak of. The highest authority instructed me in the defense of my home. Compared to him, you're not worth a trail of slime.
You surreptitious little.
That's enough, George. That's enough, George. Joan is to approach the stake unblemished.
I will not tolerate the flippancy of this little cur.
Why do you let her upset you, Georges? The poor girl meets her fate today.
Then it should make no difference.
It makes all the difference.
Why do you insist on saving this twit's life?
Because she's a friend of mine.
I think you are in love, Andre.
And what if I were?
You'd be skinned alive.
No one will skin me. George, not you. Warwick, Bedford, Cauchon, or anyone else. Now alert the guards and let them bring her to the marketplace.
If not to die, to be sold as the horse she is.
Go, man, as you're still able.
Spitting on the floor, Georges exits.
Well, my white knight saves me once again.
He's done enough to you. I won't have him touch you. His poison courses too strongly in his veins.
Are you here to escort me there too?
I'll be by your side on the journey, Miss Joan.
Thank you, Andre.
I gather you were praying when he entered?
I was in contemplation, but my earthly situation keeps interceding.
I'll bet.
Thank you, Andre, for not spitting on me as the others have.
There are better ways for using one's mouth, but our mouths often get us into trouble.
As do our actions.
But I do have some good news for you. The Duchess of Bedford has confirmed your virginity. It may help your case.
There's no help for me, my friend. I hear whispers of the doom that awaits me. Perhaps the saints are done with me. Perhaps God himself is done with me.
Do you acquire anything?
My freedom.
Alas.
Just the ringing of distant bells. But I believe that God's house of worship is everywhere, not just confined to houses of wood and stone. I see how at war the agents of God are now. Human influences obscure the clarity of our Creator's words. Somewhere in the shuffle, the keys to unity are lost, and the houses of God deny us entry.
Scene 8, the marketplace at Rouen. A crowd gathers, among them Joan's persecutors. The executioner steps up onto the stake platform as soldiers bring Joan to the stake and tie her to it.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the day's atrocity. A morbid lot you are, here to witness this recalcitrant girl's demise, but I know you all. You've all been here before. Your morbid curiosities don't keep you up at night crying, that's for certain. Your thirst for blood prevents that. And I am just the bartender to help you quench that thirst, hoping you go home satisfied, if not drunk off your balance. So stay for the show, and every one of you ghouls. Revel in the melting of flesh and the charring of bone. It'll make a fine, scary story to tell your grandchildren. Now back off a bit. You don't want any cinders to get into your eyes. You may catch your spirit and wind up here yourselves. Be glad you're not her. Fortify your own self-righteousness to the music of our screams. Know that you've done better in life and go back to your drab existence. Because if this kind of thing entertains you, then something is truly and horrifically wrong with the basic moral code of this society. Stand back now, here we go. Any last words, miss?
You wield Prometheus's gift, yet how unworthy you are to behold it. Let it fly, lackey! Let me be bathed in the gift of the Titan. Damn my fear, let that not tarry thee. The witch is dispatched, and the harlot is unable to spread her disease. Rest ye well, people of Rouen. Let my charred image be unto you a blessing as you feel the foreign boot crush your spirit and dictate to you your very method of breath.
The executioner ignites the stake. Joan burns to death. The crowd then leaves, and the heartbroken Gaspard stands alone to face the executioner as soldiers carry Joan's body away.
You swine! You bottomless pig! I hope you are happy with yourself. Don't be surprised if you find yourself facing the fires of hell on Judgment Day.
Look, mate, it's nothing personal, right? It's my bloody job, and bloody it is. You think I want to burn that poor girl? I have a daughter her age. I don't go home and brag about the burning of children. It's my occupation, my fate, my damnation. I haven't completely sold my soul to the devil, but I'm pretty sure he's got me by the balls today. I wake up every morning and I pray, man. I say, Lord, forgive me for what I have become. Brother, I've yet to hear an answer. Godspeed, mate. God bless.
The executioner exits. Gaspard looks to the charred stake as the lights dim. Scene 9, 1442, the bedroom of Pierre Cauchon. ARNEAU and Jean face the audience as Pierre Cauchon gets wheeled out on a cot. Being too upset, Gaspard remains unseen.
You'd think that'd be the end of it, right? Huh? But no, not at all. We wouldn't leave you hanging like that. How depressing that be, to have her burning be the last thing you see in this show. We're not monsters like that.
We are bereft of cruelty, Jean. Our friend Pierre Cauchon has his own reckoning to make.
Cauchon sleeps the sleep of the just on the cot. Satan then manifests and pounces on the slumbering clergyman, startling him awake.
Rise and shine, Bishop Cauchon!
Yeah! Whoa! What gives? Who has the nerve?
Howdy, partner. Boy, have I heard a lot about you.
Wait, who are you?
I'm the one you're always railing against. I'm the one you say everybody should avoid. I'm the boogeyman that always throws a damper on everything you holy people try to do. Yeesh, Pierre, I figured by this time you'd know the enemy when you saw him. My heart breaks at the knowledge that you don't.
This is preposterous. Rubbish! I don't believe this is happening. You are not but a dream.
See, this is the surest way to blindside you, pal. Naturally, you don't believe it. Naturally, we of the outside realms are unimaginable. That is, except for what they say about us in the Bible. Ha! Like they know. In the meantime, though, let's focus on you.
Why do you visit me?
To congratulate you on your victory.
I don't understand this at all.
And I'll make it plain for you so that you do understand. Joan is what I speak of. She's been in the grave 11 years now, but I'm sure you'll concede that she put you on the map of history.
Oh, God. God, help me.
See, I liked Joan. She was a pious girl who refused me, but you know what? For some reason, I don't know why, I really took a shine to her. And now she's gone because of you. You never realize how dark the world is until a light goes out. I'm here to tell you your snuffing of that light won't have made any difference. Not one iota, pious Pete. Your venture with the Maid of Orleans has backfired.
Human failings can be forgiven.
Right, they can, but that certainly isn't my job. Your job is to cleanse souls. But Joan was pure, man. She didn't need the thorough cleansing of the soul you and yours gave her.
My God, help me.
No, he's gonna help you, all right? He's on tap, brother. He's just waiting in the wings. But it falls to me to take you away. It's your time now.
Oh, God, help me.
Just let it happen, pal. The pain will be big, but it won't last long. Death is merciful. The means by which you get there, that can be a whole other story.
Presses on Cauchon's heart.
Again!
Presses down.
Sing it out, Pierre! Let the release of fleshly bonds call out to the angels. Do you realize that there was so much kerosene involved with the burning of our Joan, the executioner couldn't get up there and strangle her? She felt every moment of being consumed by that fire. You all must have been really upset with her. I think it must have felt something like this.
Presses down on Cauchon's heart.
Oh, Lord, I beg of you, take me now.
Amazing how the faith they still think they have remains. Now, Bishop Pierre Cauchon, sleep the sleep of the just. Sleep the sleep of the damned.
Satan grabs Cauchon's heart and crushes it, killing him. Cauchon then rises from the bed. Lights change and the stage populates with the persecutors. All kneeling now before the now angelic Joan of Arc, who leads them in prayer.
What the hell is going on? I didn't expect this.
Bill?
Bill,
you're
you're
on
on
mute.
mute.
Bill? Oh, there you go.
Look who it is.
Pierre Cauchon, good to see you, old man.
We all know of your further exploits beyond the burning of Joan. The dead know how to keep up with current.
Now we're all in line for judgment.
Yes, we're all as common as the dirt we're buried under.
It's you again.
Meant to be in line with the common folk, huh?
We're all equals. All of us.
No more titles to brag about or churches to belong to.
You're responsible for this, aren't you, Maid of Orleans?
Yes, Satan, I'm afraid so.
He all has a hand in frying you, lady. How can you do this?
The fine art of forgiveness in action, devil.
Oh, freak, will I ever know satisfaction?
I'm sorry to disappoint.
Bullshit! I figured you'd want all these vermin extinguished. Revenge is basic, honey. Look at these craven mothers, all of them grouping behind you after roasting you like smoked ham.
I know better, Lucifer. I've been to a place that you used to call home.
Don't you dare say that to me! You had nads enough to be a soldier, but you don't want to take me on, sweetie. You'll have had better ideas, but there's still time. These pig fritters are not yet in the bright place. As long as you losers are here in this realm, you are fair game for me. You swill are destined to see me again. I tell you now, boys, beware.
He vanishes.
After Saint Juan, I'm surprised you would rescue me.
I'm here neither save nor condemn. That's for a greater power. Join your fellows now, and your chances are greater than you know toward salvation.
I'd do it if I were you, old man.
Come on, man. This is no time to be proud. Get over here.
After what we've just seen, it's advisable.
Do you really want to run into him again?
God, no.
Then don't waste time. Your soul is in peril.
How many times have I said that to the parish?
You had no idea how right you were. Nor did I.
They beckon him loudly, encourage him, and Cauchon relents and joins them. Joan then resumes her ritual.
Now rejoice. Your perfidy lay in waste, and your wayward injustice now answered for and erased. With this new life, you've come to the light of heaven, and it graces you. Verily, you'll find godly redemption flowing like rivers to replenish your souls. Revel, my friends, for today you've been made redemptive. Today you've been made whole.
Enter Gaspard, ARNEAU, and Jean.
Redemption. Sweet redemption. That's what Joan brought to anyone she ever met.
And so raise your libations heavenward, for on this day in 1920, our captain and leader, Joan of Arc, was granted the stature of saint.
Let's hear it for this day in 1920.
Everyone in the play are just cheering, champagne all around.
And that's our show.
Thank you for coming.
And Joan, have you any final words?
Only that I'm thankful that I've received this status. Yes, rather grateful.
You know, I've got to tell you, I am greatly distressed by this. You'd have made a fine addition to the underworld, and why not? The curs here all thought you were already part of it. But if you're happy in this capacity, then I'm happy for you, Joan.
How wrong they were to assume your membership in a dark runes, Miss Joan.
Oh, yes, indeed. You were right. Divinity is earned.
Horrible way to earn it, though.
Man, but the outcome never becomes apparent until its arrival. By then, none may turn back.
Indeed, indeed. But why shouldn't one stay intended course, no matter what the end result would be?
That's what I've done.
You too, Cauchon, but you'd have veered from your intended path if you'd known I was coming to visit you.
I think we've heard enough from you, Satan.
Many apologies for having doubted you, Joan.
All is forgiven, Captain, but now we must disperse to return to our slumbers. Life, no longer ours, beckons us back to our graves until that day we've awaited all of our lives.
It was a pleasure to have known you, Maid of Orleans.
Andre, had I survived?
Sure you won't change your mind, Joan?
Away!
All right!
I hope to see you at the end of time, Joan.
You will, dear Andre.
Andre kisses her hand and exits.
Now, Lord, assimilate me into your glory and bless the world I leave behind.
Joan vanishes. End of play. Hey.
Da-na-na-na-na.